the fourth quarter separated the Utah Jazz from the Memphis Grizzlies as they end up winning it by 10, 121-111. We're going to have all of your post-game coverage right here on Playoff Central Live as players and coaches take the podium and address the media. We'll get to all of it, but first, let's talk a little bit about what made the Jazz so successful down the stretch.
A lot of Donovan Mitchell down the stretch. Yeah. I think they did a great job. Rudy Gobert was Defensive Player of the Year, again, blocking shots, controlling the paint. Conley was terrific all game, knocking down threes. I think he had 7 or 8 threes. And then Donovan Mitchell poised, getting fouled for three-point shots, hitting his clutch free throws, leading this team on the offensive side, Gobert defensively, and the lead just kind of stretched it a little bit.
Had to be experience. They knew that Memphis was going to come out strong with a chance to tie the series. It's tough to go up, Booz. We talked about it, 3-1 on a team. That's pretty much the kiss of death. But execution down the stretch. Mike Conley getting in the lane. Donovan Mitchell still reading the pick and roll. They never rushed. They kept running their sets. Mm-hmm. And I thought that Memphis was just young. They're playing all heart, all excitement and feeding off the crowd. But at some point, it just ran out. But, Donovan was excellent getting in the lane, making plays. And Conley, there's no hero ball. Maybe he saw a little bit of hero ball from Ja Morant and Dillon Brooks, but the experience went out.
I'm glad you mentioned Mike Conley, Ryan, because this is a guy who ties only Derek Fisher with having spent 12 seasons with one franchise and then facing them in the playoffs. This is a guy who I would imagine just as big a challenge as it's been physically, it has been mentally as well.
Listen, I was privileged to play along with Mike Conley in Memphis and catch some of those Gobert lives. Hey. We got a chance to watch. And I know he don't love anywhere like Memphis. And he was absolutely electric tonight when needed. And the one thing you love about Mike Conley, watch Gobert with this screen. He understands you can't go under. He's shooting 3 or 4 steps behind the line. So now you've got to trail over those threes. If you're smart, look at Mike Conley here. Watch Gobert. He's going to be patient. So the dangerous part for the big here, if Rudy rolls too fast, that's going to be offensive foul. He stays set. Mike Conley gets the wide open 3. And this is probably the play of the game right here. You're going to watch Rudy Gobert come into this screen. He's going to understand he's on the sideline. Watch this little flip right here. Now he's one-on-one with Valanciunas, who is barbecue chicken. He's too far back on the 3. And listen, Mike Conley was special tonight. You hadn't seen him. He's so unselfish of a player. You know how he plays, Booze. Mm-hmm. But tonight, you knew they needed a little extra, and he knew he was in Memphis.
Yeah, he did. He was jawing a little bit, too, especially with Dillon Brooks.
Yeah, they were going at it a little bit. I mean, that's competition. You're playing the same team 2, 3, 4 times. You're going to get a little mano out there. But to your point, his experience, his poise, he probably had some of that home cooking, that barbecue chicken out there in Memphis while he was there, and it showed tonight.
Let's talk a little bit more about Donovan Mitchell because, as you mentioned, he didn't play in Game 1, and that was the one game that this team lost. But to come back with 29 points just 2 games after being initially ruled out with that injury seems as though he's feeling at his best.
Yeah, he looked great. I mean, he's their closer, game close. This is the first close game that they had. And then he comes in, he gets fouled, he gets to the free throw line, he makes his free throws. He's poised, he reads the pick and roll well. He takes his time. But he also got great players around him. Clarkson had a great game. Gobert had a great game. Again, Conley. And then when it's winning time, Donovan Mitchell, get us to the free throw line, take us to the promised land.
I thought this was huge for the psyche of Donovan Mitchell. He really, Quinn Snyder, hats off to him. They've eased him back because, you got to think about, last year's playoffs. We were seeing 50-point performances between he and Murray. But this was, a real game by committee. But when needed, he showed and proved. So he was excellent tonight. But like you said, Booze, getting to the free throw line, hitting opportunistic threes, and playing off that lob threat of Rudy Gobert. But, he was key down the stretch, and, that's what superstars are made of.
Right. Well, because it may be easy to overlook what Rudy Gobert did in this game. But with 15 points, 14 rebounds, and what he was doing defensively, Ryan, especially down the stretch.
Where are the Rudy Gobert haters at, man? You see the impact of what he did out there. He's worth all that money, okay?
Yeah.
In all seriousness, I think he led the league last year in assisted screens. So that means when he sets a screen, someone scores. I would assume he leads it again this year. Don't quote me if I'm wrong. But he knows how to get his guys open, and he's patient, and he waits for that lob threat. But you can consistently rely on a double-double, and, he's putting his head in there, willing to get dunked on by Ja Morant, play after play after play. But he was the difference defensively in this ball game and offensively getting his guards open.
Yep.
How important will that be for this team moving forward? Because the expectation is not simply to win a first-round series against the Memphis Grizzlies, who played their way into this playoff position. The expectation is to contend for a championship.
Yeah, well, they're the number one team in the Western Conference for a reason. They played great defense all season. They've had this same group of guys. No matter who was in the lineup, out the lineup, they continue to play the same solid defense. Quinn Snyder got this team believing in each other on the defensive side. And then games where they're shooting the lights out from three, they're really hard to beat. So, him being the anchor defensively is a big key for them advancing.
You know what, real quick, Conley, Clarkson, and Mitchell creating their own shot one-on-one is the difference in Utah. I didn't see that before. They were very system-oriented, dribble, handoff, pick and roll, but guys being able to create their own shot is a difference in the Utah teams we've seen in the past. And I think we're going to, I'm not going to call them quite yet contenders, but we're going to have to feel a little more confident in what they're going to do. And, potentially if they get past Memphis, their chances of success.
Well, we're going to talk a whole lot more about it as our post-game coverage continues as the Utah Jazz beat the Memphis Grizzlies in this one. And Donovan Mitchell is going to take the podium after the break. Stay with us. They go on to win at 121-111 behind, as you see there, a very balanced offensive effort. Each of their starters in double-figure scoring, and the reigning sixth man of the year, Jordan Clarkson, with 15 as well. Let's go now to Grizzlies coach Taylor Jenkins.
Race feature. Coach, how was it being back in Memphis with the crowd and that energy after being away for so long, and just how did that help motivate the team throughout the entire game?
I mean, the fans were unbelievable. Everything you would expect with playoff basketball in Memphis. The crowd was unbelievable from the beginning of the jump to the end of the game. Obviously, they fueled us, when we were going on runs. Their energy on the defensive side of the floor. It was awesome. Awesome to be part of. Great, first experience for this entire group in front of this great crowd, and I know they'll be right back in action on Monday.
Drew Hill.
Taylor, what do you think was the difference there in the last 4 minutes, particularly offensively?
I mean, I'm more focused on the first quarter, to be honest with you. I mean, competitive game the rest of the way. We got to be better in the first quarter, and we'll watch the tape and see how we got to be better at the end of the game.
Evan Barnes.
Taylor, what exactly bothered you about the first quarter, and then in the fourth, were you concerned defensively that you guys have prided yourselves on all year? You guys just couldn't get stops as the Jazz finished it off.
Yeah, they made the plays down the stretch. Couldn't get the stops. A couple big and ones, in the first quarter we just didn't have the discipline. We just got to execute our game plan. Too many breakdowns, and they made us pay.
Josh Robbins.
Taylor, your after job put you up 109-107. Your team missed its next 9 shots. Were you happy with the looks, or how would you describe the looks you got and the approach to offense there down those final 4:26?
Yeah, a combination of playing a good pace. I thought we got some pretty decent looks. Some that we'd probably wish to have back. A little bit better organization on the offensive end. Obviously, as I said, we'll watch the tape and go back. But I thought we had some pretty good looks. A couple open threes, some paint touches that didn't fall, and they made the shots and we didn't. So, what a competitive game. Our guys put ourselves in a position, but we got to be better in the first quarter, and we'll find out a way to be better, hopefully for a full 48 now.
Megan Triplett.
Hey, Coach. Jonas Valanciunas had all 10 of his points in that third quarter. What did you see in that first half that kind of made it difficult for Jonas Valanciunas to get a good look? And what do you think about kind of just how he came out in that third quarter?
Yeah, I mean, great response in that third quarter by him. I thought in that first half, the Jazz made a huge emphasis on just being really physical with him. And anytime we had a chance to get an offensive rebound, which he's great at, they had multiple bodies on him. He couldn't seem to secure one. There were so many arms and bodies in there, but they're throwing a lot of tension on him. So credit their defense, and I'm glad that he found a way in that third quarter, and we'll learn from it and show him and see how we can get him going a little bit earlier in the game.
Keith Parrish.
The rotation in the first half was noticeably different than games 1 and 2 as far as staggering the bench guys. But then in the second half, it seemed very similar to games 1 and 2. Was that a case of maybe you didn't like what they did in the first half, or was it just Grayson knocking down shots, so you wanted to adjust the lineup? What was the kind of the reasoning between the changes between the first half and the second half on the rotation?
Yeah, I just read the game. Thought we were playing a little bit better small. Grayson was playing good, so just kind of with my gut in there in that second half.
Sean Coleman.
Coach, 19 more shot attempts for y'all tonight. Certainly seen the energy, second chance points, turnovers, things like that. You said that y'all put yourselves in the position to win the game. It certainly seemed like there was an upgrade in the energy and the effort in creating winning opportunities tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to say it for a millionth time. Like, we can't play like we did in the first quarter to beat this team. You know, this is 3 obvious games, 2 in the regular season and 1 here, where they come out and blitz you. You know, and a lot of it was just breakdowns. Obviously, they made some shots, but we had way too many game plan breakdowns in that first quarter. Got better as the game went on. Really proud of the group's response there to take that lead late in the game. And, you know, as we've been through all season long, just the learning of how we can execute better on offense. You know, there's probably going to be plenty of shots that, man, we just want that to fall better. And, you know, defensively, hopefully we can get a stop and execute better on the defensive end. So overall, you know, really proud of the fight. We can do that. Just got to have better attention to detail and be smarter early in the game, and hopefully have a more complete 48 minutes in Game 4.
Nicole.
Hi, Coach. What is your balance with the matchup between Gobert and Valanciunas at this point in the series?
It's a competitive matchup. Gobert's a heck of a player. Jonas is a heck of a player. Those guys are battling out and obviously mean so much to each other's teams. So they're definitely big factors in this series.
Time for one more. Evan Barnes.
Phil, you went back to Brandon, obviously, to try to, you know, get something going in the first half. What did you see from that, and did you kind of expect to maybe tweak any lineup changes to see what can work maybe moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to watch the film and see, you know, I mean, they're a hard team, you know, with the depth that they have and the multiple playmakers, and you know, we gotta find a little bit, you know, better, you know, groove with our rotations. You know, try to get BC in there to help us get a little bit more pace. Didn't feel like we had the pace until, you know, later in the game. So we'll watch the film, see, you know, what it looked like, you know, what we liked, and hopefully have a better go next time.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
Quinn Snyder also at the podium as his team takes the 2-1 lead.
Coach, your defense down the stretch was so clutch, 7 stops in the last 8 possessions. What went into that?
Well, you know, one of the things we've talked about is trying to get better defensively as the game goes on. You know, obviously, Ja is such a terrific player. You know, I thought really as much as anything, you know, Mike Conley, he was unbelievable. Just his quickness, his presence on the ball. And then the next thing is we started rebounding. You know, we were giving up some loose ball rebounds, some long rebounds. You know, I don't think there were possessions where we were quite tough enough to come up with rebounds. And we were really to close possessions. And I thought that really made the difference on the defensive end.
Eric Walden, Salt Lake Tribune.
When you guys went down 2 and then you followed up by reeling off that 12-0 run, what did you tell your team in that moment to kind of get them settled and get things, you know, going back in your favor again?
You know, I think we've talked about it for a while, and there's going to be swings in games, and particularly playoff games. Sometimes it's a shorter span of 6-7 minutes. Sometimes it's a quarter. Sometimes it's a game. You know, I think, you know, you can't get too high or too low emotionally, and you got to just keep focusing on execution. And that's really what we try to do. I thought offensively, you know, we got spaced, you know, we simplified a little bit, and, you know, Donovan and Mike in particular, you know, were able to attack. You know, the other thing, Bojan really steadied us throughout the game. I thought his baskets, during a stretch where we weren't getting stops, you know, kind of stopped the bleeding, so to speak. But, you know, we've got an unselfish group, and guys kind of hung in there, and we talk a lot about closing, and we were able to do that tonight. And it was the whole group.
Sarah Todd, Deseret News next.
When you talk about those closing minutes and what you were able to see from Donovan, how much of that is a mental game, especially on the road?
Well, you know, for him, you know, having not played in a while, I don't think he's thinking about that. You know, I think he's such a competitor, and he's thinking about winning. And, you know, when you have a guy that has that much belief in himself, that much belief in his teammates, and that competitive fire, he's going to make some things happen, and he's not going to be successful in every possession, but he's not going to be deterred either. And his emotion is something that our whole group feeds off of. And I thought, like I said, I think Mike defensively down the stretch, was terrific as well. So those guys were able to kind of pick their spots together. And that's been really important for us, where no one has to carry the load on their own. But we know when Donovan's got the ball late that, he's gonna make a play.
Last question, Ben Anderson, KSLSports.com.
Ja still had 28 points, but it seemed like it was more difficult for him than it was in game two. What did you see differently?
Well, the transition opportunities that presented themselves in game two were something that, we really talked about. Giving up layups and easy baskets, gets guys going. I thought we did a much better job of not fouling, showing our hands in certain situations. And that was really important. And then I guess the other thing, I thought we had more of a presence protecting the paint with our bigs. I think we still need to be better with some of their penetration, both with Ja and also with Dylan. But you're not going to, they're great players, and they're going to get where they want to go. And like I said, sometimes they're going to make some tough shots, but when they miss, that's where we've really got to make sure that we're better, not giving them second chance points. A lot of those rebounds end up getting kicked out for threes, but those guys are hard to guard, and they're really good, and we just got to keep competing. And, I think judging it more by kind of the process and what we're doing defensively and seeing the film and, trying to execute as opposed to looking, at a stat line. A great player can have a huge night, and he had a huge night the other night, but I didn't feel like, we executed as well. We could, you can execute great and he can still have a big night because he's that good a player. But, I thought collectively we were more conscious.
All right. That's all the time we have. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Rudy Gobert also at the podium. He finished with 15 points and 14 rebounds in this one.
Passing of Mark Eaton today. And I was just wondering if you could kind of tell us what you were feeling and how much his relationship with you meant to you.
It's tough. It's someone that I really appreciate it. Great guy. We were texting a few days ago. We went to his house a few times. Just a great guy. Obviously he had a great career, but he, as a human being, as a person, is someone that I really look up to. And I learned a lot. Just from being around him. So definitely gonna be missed, and not just me, but in the community with all the great things that he's done and all the people that he's been inspiring his whole life.
Eric Walden, Salt Lake Tribune.
Rudy, the Grizzlies go up 2 in the last about 4.5 minutes to go, and then you guys reel off a 12-0 run. Obviously, it seemed like the defense kind of picked up, the rebounding got a little better. What did you guys do in that stretch to really kind of retake control of the game?
Just focus on the little things, make sure that we're getting those rebounds, that we're communicating better, and, and offensively, make sure the ball was moving. And, when we do those 3 things, everything else kind of flows, and sometimes we get distracted through the games, for calls or turnovers and stuff like that. But when we're able to refocus, reconnect, it's really hard for us to lose when we play that way.
Kristen Kenny, Jazz TV.
Rudy, what have you seen defensively from Mike Conley in this series, and in particular what he did tonight?
I know Mike is one of the best defensive point guards in the NBA. His quickness, his hands, and his experience, his knowledge of the game. He's making good decisions and quick decisions. And, having me back there and talking to him and try to help him. It's definitely something that we love to do. We're really confident with him guarding anyone, and obviously Ja is a really talented player. He has a little size advantage on Mike, but it takes a team effort. And tonight, Mike was big time defensively.
Ben Anderson, KSLSports.com.
Rudy, other than a couple of minutes to start the second half, you were really good against Jonas Valanciunas. What are you seeing in that matchup?
He's a very good player. I've been playing him since I'm 18 years old. So, times change, but, he's still we both grown as players over the years. And, every time I play against him, I know that, he's gonna try to give me his best shot. And, I try to do the same. And, he's very physical, he's very talented. And I know that, I have to battle all night if I want to try to limit him.
Nicole Guerrera, Tab Deportes out of Puerto Rico.
Hi, Rudy. Congrats for the win.
Gracias.
You're welcome. De nada. How important is for you won this game into the honor of Mark Eaton, who, as you mentioned, had been your mentor?
I mean, it means everything. I know that if he was there, I would have probably got a little text after the game saying like, way to protect the paint, big guy. So, I know he's watching, and I know he's going to be watching for, the rest of the players and everything else. So, I feel his presence, and I definitely, had to come out tonight and make sure I was helping the team get a win, just to honor him.
All right, and last question, Andy Larson, Salt Lake Tribune.
Rudy, just those fourth quarter offensive rebounds that they had, kind of what were you experiencing out there on the floor when they were getting those, and kind of what do you guys need to clean up with that?
I think you were starting before the shot. We were always kind of like trailing the plays, miscommunicating, not communicating enough, and cross match, and then when you start when you start defensively like that, bad things happen. And they were crashing, they were really aggressive on the boards, and we couldn't box out because we weren't connected and we're cross match. So it starts before the shot. It starts when the defense starts. We have to communicate, make sure we match up. And if we cross match, make sure that everybody is aware of the cross match, of the mismatch, and make sure that everyone do what he has to do to get a hit and get on the boards. And at the same time, you got to give them credit. They were really aggressive, and they got away with a few of them.
All right, that's all for tonight. Thank you, Rudy.
Mike Conley and the Utah Jazz taking the 2-1 lead over his former team in Memphis, and our post-game coverage continues after the break. Including 10 of the team's last 14. Here he is.
Kyle Anderson had a putback and cut the lead to 3, and then there was a timeout. And when you went back to the timeout, you were pointing to your head and telling the team, it's all in here. How much of the end of that game was a mental battle versus a physical?
I think the biggest thing, a lot of it was mental. That's what I was kind of saying to the guys was like, look, we're going to make mistakes, but it's how do we respond to that? And we understood that this team is going to come back. We can go up 20, 30 against the team. They're going to come back. They just have that will about them, and hats off to them for that. But it's all about the mental part, locking in, executing, and then also responding to adversity when you make mistakes, when you miss 3 shots in a row, when they make 5 shots in a row. That's what the playoffs are. That's what it's going to come down to. And I felt like from the bubble, like we had mental lapses, 3 straight games, and I think this is a game where we come out, they go on a run and we come out and I think it was like 16-4 or 12-2, whatever it was. Like that's the mental fortitude we need to have on both ends of the floor. Mike coming in, getting a huge rebound, Rudy going up vertical, getting the block. Like that's huge, because we could have easily put John on the free throw line, giving up a second chance points. Like that's all it was. And we did a really good job of that when it mattered but now we got to do it every possession, because we can't let them back in the game. They're going to continue to fight, and we got to be able to withstand the runs and not let them go up 1 for us to be like, oh, shoot, like we got to go ahead and lock in.
Tony Jones, The Athletic.
What were you seeing? What were you seeing personally in the closing minutes for you in those closing possessions? And how big were those possessions for you individually as well as for the team, just overall in the team concept?
I think the biggest thing was just trying to figure out how they were guarding me. They surprised me. They hadn't blitzed the whole series, and then they got me on a turnover. That can't happen. That's a mental error. Like, going back to what I said to Sarah, like, those are things that can't happen. But understanding that, guys are in certain positions, whether it's Valanciunas, Jackson, who's on me, who's going to help off who, like, that was really what I was trying to do, manipulate that space and manipulate the game. And that's the biggest thing I've been working on throughout my career, is trying to find ways to put myself and my teammates in positions to score. And fortunately, at the end, there were my opportunities to get downhill and attack and go from there. But that was really what the last few minutes were.
Eric Walden, Salt Lake Tribune.
Don, along those lines, what were kind of the biggest factors tactically or schematically or whatever in that kind of closing 12-0 run that enabled you guys, stop their momentum and get back in control?
Well, first off, taking solid shots. I think I had a few tough ones. Finding guys, I found Boyan and got to a post up, and that's early in the fourth. But finding Mike, understanding that Mike's in the fuse, not going to help off Mike. I can attack. Understand they're going to blitz. Finding Rudy, who's going to make a play. That's really what it was. And like I said, being in the league 4 years, you see every coverage. There's no new coverage that's invented. So understanding how to go about it, and figure it out, and whether it's to score or to pass, just being understanding, being patient. Understanding that it's a long game. Like, they're going to be runs, but how do you control it? And I think that was the biggest thing that we did. Mike did. Mike was terrific, man, on both ends of the floor. He was Mike Conley, and he always has been for us all year. And he's taking it to an even another level. And I feel like when you have a guy like that who can handle the ball, who can control the game as well, it makes my life and my job easier. So, when I get certain shots, it's because he sees things and he's communicating that with me, or he's putting me in positions to go ahead and score. And make plays too. So a lot of that too is Mike Conley being here. It's big time.
Sam Farnsworth, KSL TV.
Hey, Donovan, it seems like the physicality and intensity of this series, it just ramps up with every game. Tonight, there was a few intense moments on the floor with Dylan Brooks out there as well. One moment, I think in the second quarter, it looked like he might have hit you in the mouth or something. What happened there, and what was that the whole game going up against him like?
We've had this all year, myself, him, everybody. Like, that's just who he is. He's a guy that goes out there and is competitive. He's going to go out there and be physical. We saw it, against Steph. He did a really good job. He's playing his butt off this series. But the biggest thing is not getting caught up in it, and kind of just going back there. But I enjoy it. I think it's what makes basketball fun. I think, like, Mike, that's Mike's former teammate Mike, and him going back and forth. I think that's what makes basketball fun. And I think that's what we enjoy, and going out there and just continue to compete. As far as the elbow, he just got hit. I got to get up and get back on defense. Like, that's it. Move on to the next play, and it's nothing really else to it.
Andy Larson, Salt Lake Tribune.
I'm curious, Don, usually when you're making big plays like the and one, the made three, we see you kind of fist pumping, we see you celebrating, bouncing off the floor, that kind of thing. Tonight you were more stoic in your responses. Why was that?
It's a long game. It's been a while, and just getting back into it, and that's really it. Understanding that, trying to save your energy as much as possible, not needing to be as exuberant, or as I think that's the right word to use there. But I think just not being as loud and kind of demonstrative in my movements, just keeping it, understanding that, it's tired. It's a long game, and being pressured, and it's physical, and just going out there and trying to execute the plays, because, like I said, we've made big plays and they came back and made another play. So understanding that it's one possession at a time, and that's really it. Not having as much emotion behind it, because that takes away from the job at hand.
Nick Friedel, ESPN.
Donovan, you mentioned Mike and the way he performed. Obviously, he's played a high level in the league a long time. But how impressive is it from your perspective for a guy to come into where he used to play and where there was so much emotion coming into the game, to be able to raise his level and play the way he did tonight?
I think, the biggest thing, man, is he's just locked in. Like, he just has a different look, I think. And that's one of the things that I saw from him in the bubble, and I've seen it at an even higher level now. He understands it. He's played for Memphis for 13 years. Like, at the end of the day, there's still love, and you could see it. And then there's also love in competing against him. And I think it is impressive because it's easy to be distracted. It's easy to kind of sit there and kind of, like I said, have that emotion behind it. And, you got old friends out here, you got family, you got whatever out here. And, I think for him to be as locked in as he is definitely impressive from a mental standpoint of the game. I don't think people understand, like, that's a really, really big thing. I've never experienced it, but, I remember his first game back here, it was mentally, he was all over the place. And, rightfully so, it's an emotional moment for him, but to be back here competing against Ja, who's like, you got the OG and you got the young guy. I think that's pretty dope. It's a dope story, but for him, he's competing, man. He's doing this thing on both ends of the floor, and both of these guys taking the challenge head on. And that's why I love Mike. That's why we love Mike.
Last question, Nicole Garena, Tab Deportes.
Hi, Don. Congrats for the win.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How you feel in your second game after the injury, and how important is for you play this playoff game with the team?
It means the world, to be able to play these games. I think the biggest thing for me is picking my spots. It's been, outside of the last game, it's been 39, 40 days, and understanding that it's not all going to come back at once. There's certain shots that I missed tonight that I feel like I make. There's certain decisions that I didn't make, that I do make as far as passing or turnovers and being there on defense, sprinting back. Like that's going to come as far as the rhythm and stuff like that and getting a feel for the game. And you just got to continue to stay with it. I got the greatest teammates in the world telling me, continue to fight through it and continue to push and be aggressive, and I think that's the biggest thing for me is understand it's not all going to come. This game is not going to come next game. It's a process, but doing as much as I can and trying to be there for my teammates.
All right, that's it. Thank you, Donovan.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, Dylan Brooks helped lead the Grizzlies with 27 points on 11 of 24 from the field.
The high picks with Gobert has kind of been a tough task for the team, leading to some open shots for the Jazz. What's just kind of the difficulty with defending those screens by Rudy Gobert, and what do you have to change going forward to, kind of stop it from happening?
They're moving. He's moving screen every single time he screens. Somehow he got to fight over it, and try to make them get downhill into hard floaters and layups.
Dylan, it looked like Taylor might have come to your defense a little bit after that call in the first half and picked up the technical. How much do you like him showing that sort of energy and coming to your defense like that?
I love it. The refs, they're gonna call what they're gonna call. They make mistakes as well, but we got to find a way to fight through it. And, I respect Coach for defending me. He defends everybody. We got to figure out how to, stop, fouling jump shooters, because I feel like that's why we're losing these games. And, that starts with me. I got to find a way to stop fouling the jump shooters.
Evan Barnes.
Dylan, for you guys being a team that prides yourself on defense being your calling card and something you guys rally around, what was maybe the biggest challenge ending this game? And also, just besides the screen and rolls, has there been another challenge maybe with the dribble penetration that's been the biggest challenge?
Yeah, but them getting downhill, us in rotation. We gotta limit our rotations and try to keep guys in front, like you said. That's another thing. I feel like we did a better job today, but we still gotta do better overall.
Josh Robbins.
Dylan, your team missed its last 9 shots after it went up by 2. What did you see with the shot selection and the approach to offense late?
I feel like we had good shots. We just missed them. There was one corner 3 that I should have hit to go up 2. instead of flinging up a three, trying to get a foul, should have went to my mid-range and knocked it down. Just different things, and the game's moving fast. You got to figure it out. But I feel like most of those shots are good shots, and we made a run, and somehow we got to find a way to keep making the run go longer.
Cassie Carlson.
Dylan, you guys have showed your ability to come back down the stretch, but Taylor said he was more concerned about the way you guys started. What do you think you need to change from the jump to get off to a good start?
More energy. We got to feed off our crowd. Our crowd was amazing today. It's great to see everyone in the stands. Waving their towels. The energy was electric. I'd never seen the energy in the gym, in the arena like that. It was an amazing feeling. We gotta feed off that and feed off each other, and just do a little more. Just do a little more.
We have time for one more. Mike Sadie.
Dylan, on that note, the build up to this game today. People have been waiting 4 years. You guys have been waiting, 2 or 3 years to get into this sort of game in your own building. You mentioned how electric it was. Is the only disappointment that you didn't get the win because you guys did everything, including rallying back? I mean, this place was electric for most of this game and really tried to feed you guys to a win.
Yeah. The cherry on top would have been the win. But we're still learning, still figuring it out. We gotta make a couple more adjustments. We had a good game plan going in. We just gotta make a little bit more adjustments, and we gotta be ready to come in and play desperate. We're down 2-1, and we gotta find a way to scrap out a win on our home floor.
Thanks, Dylan.
Mike Conley gave his former team 27-6-8. Here he is.
Locked in the bubble, and you've taken it to another level in this playoff series. Kind of what's been working for you? What's been the mentality going out there? It seemed like there were points tonight where it looked like you didn't feel like you could miss.
Really it's just trying to keep the same mindset I've had. Something that when I first got here, it took a minute for me to kind of find my groove, and because of that, I wasn't, the same guy, mentally. And, over the last year, especially in the bubble, it really allowed me to kind of find my way and be there mentally before the game starts, just be locked in and be thinking about plays, be thinking about shots that are going to go in, accepting the challenge. It's a great challenge to play against a team like this, and especially on the road. And in a place I'm familiar playing in, and just go out there and just play as hard as I can, and if it's enough to win, it's I'm happy. So I'm just going to go out there and continue to do it.
Sarah Todd, Deseret News.
Mike, you mentioned being familiar here, and we asked you about this before the games in Memphis, and you said you didn't know what it was going to be like playing in front of these fans as the enemy. What were the emotions that you had when kind of you first got out there on the court?
I just started when we started to compete. All that stuff kind of goes out the window. I thought I'd be more wrapped up in it, but same time, man, I was just out there just having fun and competing, and got into the flow of the game early. Saw a couple shots go in, and really found a good rhythm. And, once that happens, just trying to fill the game out the rest of the way. So it's a great environment to play in, still one of my favorite places to play. So it was fun to be a part of it.
Sam Farnsworth, KSL TV.
Yeah, not only that, Mike, but you also went up against, some former teammates, Dylan Brooks, and you had some fun with them as well. It looked like little jawing down the floor after you made a three-pointer that one time. What's it like going up against, I guess, him and some of your former teammates?
Well, I mean, everybody from, JV to Kyle to Dylan, JJ, I mean, it's fun. It's ironic that we're getting to play at the highest level against each other like this. And all those guys compete. That was one thing when I was here, whether it was in practice or shoot around or anything. we were going at it. Dylan especially. He's a guy that competes at everything. From when we used to shoot together and shoot around. Before everybody got to the gym, we were two in there shooting. We would compete, and it's no different when we play in the game. So I expect that from him, and I'm not going to back down. I'm going to continue to push forward and do what I got to do to win.
Tony Jones, The Athletic.
What were you guys able to accomplish, in those closing possessions on both ends, and how were you guys able to accomplish it?
Well, I think defensively, it was a night and day difference from, especially game 1 and 2, how we were able to get our big up in the pick and roll a little bit higher, with Ja, so that he wasn't as comfortable when he got the ball in the paint. He still, with his quickness, he was still able to get around the paint and get to spots, but we made it take just a little bit longer, a couple more dribbles here and there. Kind of try to make it clear and take off and challenge our bigs. And our bigs did a phenomenal job of being there. And we did a great job of rebounding in those cases, too, to secure the ball. And on the offensive end, we found a couple situations we liked. And Donovan, was Donovan down the stretch. I was able to get a couple shots here and there. And Rudy made some big plays as well. So, we just kind of, executed the way we expected to execute. We didn't let them speed us up too much. And that was the difference in winning and losing.
Ben Anderson, KSLSports.com.
Mike, you knew after you lost game 1, you were going to have to win on a game on the road to win the series. How important is it to get the first opportunity and get a home court advantage back?
It was extremely important to win this one, honestly. You don't want to say must win too soon, but, it felt like that's the kind of urgency we were playing with and we'll continue to play with throughout the series. Like I said, this team isn't a team you want to play around with at all. We've tried a bunch of different things, and they just keep attacking and keep finding ways to give themselves chances to win. So we have to continue to be locked in, because this is just one game, and we have another one coming up in a few days, and just keep our same mentality, continue to adjust, continue to get better, and hope that we can come away with another one.
All right, last question, Nick Friedel, ESPN.
Mike, is the guy who was the face of this Memphis team for so many years with Mark. What is it like playing on this playoff stage in Memphis going against Ja?
It's amazing to be playing against a guy like Ja, first off. Just seeing a guy that's so talented, he's a young superstar in our league, wearing the jersey that I'm so used to wearing, getting the cheers from the crowds that I'm so used to hearing, is surreal. It's like full circle. You never thought that it would be this way. I never did, at least. And, it's like sometimes you live long enough to become the villain, and I've become that for this, against the Memphis Grizzlies now. So, just got to take that in stride, continue to do what I do, and have fun with it, have fun with the game.
All right, that's all the questions. Thanks, Mike.
Before we go, let's look ahead, though, to Game 4, which is also going to be in Memphis. But I'll start with you. Do you think that the Jazz here have found the winning recipe in this series?
I do. I think that the Grizzlies are doing a great job fighting. I just think the Utah Jazz have the it factor to get the job done. Donovan's back in the lineup. He played great down the stretch. Defensive Player of the Year in Gobert. I feel like they're going to win the rest of the games.
Yeah, I think we're really understating that Donovan missed game 1, really didn't do a whole lot in game 2, and we finally hit stride in that fourth quarter. So I think there's only just more upside for the Utah Jazz. And like I said, the experience and execution won out during the stretch. Booze, when you're playing against a younger team, you know where to go, you know how to get to your spots. And the younger team just has so much, they're just a ball of energy. John Moran and Dylan Brooks, they gave it all they could, but at some point that execution and experience will play out for them. This just may not be their year.
Well, that'll do it for our post-game coverage of the Jazz and Grizzlies game, but we are going to be back with Game Time later tonight on NBA TV, so stay with us. Ryan.